The Philippine Islands, a paradise in the Pacific, a vibrant tapestry of cultures and landscapes. But in 1941, this idyllic archipelago found itself on the brink of war. The islands, a US territory since 1898, held immense strategic value. They guarded vital sea lanes. They were a gateway to Southeast Asia's rich resources. Japan, driven by its imperial ambitions, recognized the Philippines' significance. Control of the islands meant control of a crucial crossroads in the Pacific. It meant a stepping stone towards greater conquest. For the United States, the Philippines represented a forward outpost of American power in Asia, a symbol of its commitment to the region. The US had a moral obligation to defend the islands and their people. It also had a strategic imperative. The loss of the Philippines would be a blow to American prestige. It would also threaten their ability to project power in the Pacific. December 7th, 1941, the day that will live in infamy. Japanese forces launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The Pacific Fleet was devastated. America was at war, but the attack on Pearl Harbor was just the beginning. Within hours, the Japanese war machine turned its sights towards the Philippines. On December 8, 1941, Japanese bombers appeared in the skies above Luzon, the largest of the Philippine Islands. Clark Field, the main American airbase, was caught off guard. Aircraft were destroyed on the ground. American air power in the Philippines was crippled. The surprise attack sent shockwaves through the islands. The unthinkable had happened. War had come to paradise. The defense of the Philippines fell to General Douglas MacArthur, a legendary figure, a hero of World War I. MacArthur had a deep connection to the islands. He had served as a military advisor to the Philippine government. He had even adopted the Philippines as his own. MacArthur knew the Japanese would come for the Philippines. He also knew that he was facing a formidable enemy. The Japanese army was battle-hardened. They were well-equipped, and they were determined to conquer. MacArthur's plan was to make the Japanese fight for every inch of Philippine soil, to inflict heavy casualties, to buy time for American reinforcements to arrive. He would concentrate his forces on Luzon. He would make his stand on the Bataan Peninsula and the island fortress of Corregidor. These were natural strongholds, places where American and Filipino forces could make a last stand. The Bataan Peninsula became a symbol of American and Filipino resistance. Outnumbered and outgunned, they held off wave after wave of Japanese attacks. The jungles and mountains of Bataan echoed with the sounds of battle. The air was thick with smoke and the stench of death. American and Filipino soldiers fought side by side. They endured relentless shelling. They faced shortages of food, medicine, and ammunition. But their spirits remained unbroken. The Japanese commanders were astonished by the ferocity of the defense. They had expected a quick victory. Instead, they found themselves bogged down in a bloody stalemate. The fighting on Bataan raged for months. Every day, the defenders knew that their situation was becoming more desperate. Reinforcements were not coming. Section 5, Corregidor Fortress under siege. While the battle for Bataan raged, the island fortress of Corregidor stood guard at the entrance to Manila Bay. Corregidor was a labyrinth of tunnels and underground fortifications. It was armed with powerful coastal artillery. From Corregidor, American guns could control access to Manila. The Japanese knew they had to neutralize this threat. The Japanese unleashed a relentless aerial and artillery bombardment on Corregidor. Day and night, the island shook under the impact of exploding shells. The defenders huddled in tunnels, their ears ringing, the air thick with dust and cordite. But Corregidor would not break. Its guns continued to fire back. The island fortress became a symbol of defiance, a beacon of hope in the face of overwhelming odds. Section 6. the full surrender and the Bataan Death March. On April 9, 1942, with his army on the verge of collapse, General Edward King Jr., the commander on Bataan, was forced to surrender. It was a crushing blow to American and Filipino morale. But the worst was yet to come. The Japanese, enraged by the stubborn defense, forced their prisoners to march from Bataan to prison camps. It became known as the Bataan Death March. Thousands of American and Filipino prisoners, already weakened by hunger and disease, died during the march. They were beaten, bayoneted, and shot by their Japanese captors. The Bataan Death March became a symbol of Japanese brutality, a dark chapter in the history of warfare. Section 7, Legacy of Valor, Resistance and Guerrilla Warfare. Even in defeat, the spirit of resistance in the Philippines remained unbroken. Filipino guerrillas took to the hills and jungles. They harassed the Japanese occupiers. They gathered intelligence. They provided a lifeline to American prisoners of war. The guerrilla movement was a testament to the courage and resilience of the Filipino people. They refused to be cowed. They refused to give up hope. The resistance movement in the Philippines played a vital role in the eventual Allied victory. They provided valuable intelligence on Japanese troop movements and defenses. They disrupted Japanese supply lines, and they kept alive the flame of freedom in the hearts of the Filipino people. Section 8, Turning the Tide. The road back to the Philippines. The fall of the Philippines was a bitter pill for America to swallow, but it also steeled the nation's resolve. America would avenge its defeat. It would liberate the Philippines. The road back to the Philippines was long and bloody. American forces, island hopping across the Pacific, fought their way closer to the Japanese homeland. Each victory brought them one step closer to fulfilling their promise to return to the Philippines. In October of 1944, American forces, led by General MacArthur, landed on the island of Leyte. The battle for the Philippines had begun. MacArthur had returned. He had fulfilled his promise. "I have returned," he declared. "By the grace of Almighty God, our forces stand again on Philippine soil." Section 9, Liberation and its Aftermath. The liberation of the Philippines was a long and brutal campaign. American and Japanese forces clashed in fierce battles. Cities were reduced to rubble. But the tide had turned. The Japanese, weakened by years of war, were on the defensive. American forces, backed by Filipino guerrillas, gradually pushed the Japanese back. On February 2, 1945, American forces entered Manila. The city was devastated, but the Filipino people were jubilant. Their long nightmare was over. They were free again. The liberation of the Philippines was a testament to the courage and sacrifice of American and Filipino soldiers. It was also a victory for the human spirit. Section 10, A Shared Legacy, Remembering the Philippine Defense. The defense of the Philippines was a defining moment in World War II. It was a story of courage, sacrifice, and resilience. American and Filipino soldiers fought side by side against overwhelming odds. They endured unimaginable hardships. They displayed extraordinary valor. The battle for the Philippines had a profound impact on the course of the Pacific War. It delayed the Japanese advance. It bought valuable time for American forces to regroup and rebuild, and it showed the world that the Axis powers could be defeated. Today, we remember the sacrifices made by those who fought and died in the Philippines. We honor their memory by striving for peace and understanding, and we celebrate the enduring bond between the United States and the Philippines.